What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and this is another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest, my main man, who I have not talked to in a very, very long time. Great author, great writer of CNS comics and the hit indie success, Tol'Asha. Wilson Lee, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is so good to be kicking it with you again, James. It feels like it's been forever.
It has been. Now,
since we got to kick it, man.
Now, during the course of what I wanted to do when I started on Instagram, and I only started on Instagram back in like 2018. I know I'm no longer there, but back in 2018, I started to do an IG live with a lot of indie creators. You were one of the first people that I talked to, and this was around the time that you were first kicking off Tol'Asha, and you had explained to me about this deity. And this deity basically molding herself in a universe and getting to know herself. And it had this animation. I remember you had like the animation of Tol'Asha. And believe you me, like aside from the comic itself and the animation, it drew me to the character so much so that I got a picture of her up here on my wall. I can't even.
Is it the Zulu Toll?
Yes, it is.
Zulu Toll, isn't it?
Since I've gotten it, it's never moved.
There's only 10 of them, man. So I never printed any more of the full size ones ever again. So still to this day, like that's what I'm saying. Like we go back, like 2018 was when I was first dropping. I just got on Instagram because I didn't social media before.
Yep.
Entering in with the comic book community. It seems like, and it's beautiful to see how everybody has grown and evolved. I mean, like, it's like a graduating class. Like I see all the people I came up with and I'm like, yeah, look at us balling out, man. Like everybody is balling out. So
right.
Amazing, man.
And under the circumstances, a lot of us grew closer during the pandemic because a lot of us got a chance to actually talk to each other through social media about our stories. We got to talk to each other about what type of projects that were more so coming out. And it's the community is what it is. It's ever evolving. It's a loving community, and we just continue to strive and progress on and on again. And it's good to see. I've seen you now at virtual cons during the pandemic, and now you're at physical cons selling stuff. That's what I'm saying. Yes. This is exactly what we wanted to get to.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It is a dream. It is a dream that we're all getting to live, man. Feel blessed every day that somebody sends me a message and says I liked your stuff, or somebody hits the shop and makes a purchase. And it's not like anything else I've ever experienced, man. Like when you go all in for yourself and you really try some stuff, and like you said, the pandemic made us all a little bit braver about making some attempts. You didn't have nothing else to do. Everything was shut down, and it's crazy how all things can be a blessing when you have a good enough perspective on it and time enough to kind of see what really happened. Like it was a chance to evolve. And I think I'm impressed and proud of how everybody around me evolved. And it's inspirational every day, man. Like when I see all the good things happening in the midst of so much chaos. So big ups to everybody, man. It's amazing. Love it.
So much so that I remember when you were creating the first comic, that I think our first talk, you were telling me about like the chapters that you were writing, and you were taking them to work, and you were basically like telling everybody at work exactly how the story was gonna unfold.
I couldn't stop nerding out, man.
Those were your first Kickstarter backers right there at your job.
People that just it's crazy, man. Like you don't realize how many people are into the same type of things. Like my brother's never really gone to the cons or nothing like that. I might be the nerdiest of the family. My eldest brother's pretty nerdy. He comic booked. That's where I got my second hand, was from the eldest. So we can get pretty nerdy together, but the other two, because there's 4 of us and we all work together to try to make things happen, not just comics. We do a lot of stuff like agribusiness, and we're into growing our own food and own some land, work some land, be about something, folks. You got more in you than you know. don't waste yourself. You got more in you than you know. So like we really do we'll take some risk as a squad. Like when you got a group like that around you, and shout out to my mom and dad, man, for raising us in a way that makes you believe in yourself. You don't feel, they didn't fill us up with doubts about what we could do. They told us, you know, like you got to put some ass behind it, but if you go out there to do it, you can get it done. So I'm so appreciative of, you know, like having that around me. And I think that that's what really is allowing CNS Comics to excel. And now like we get to expand, and I can push some doors down for other folks and put their work in front of you, not just my own. And that's just like a whole new feeling and a whole new like it's awesome, man. Like I've been blown away lately at what's been happening for us, and like the steady growth. Like, yeah, I know about the grind and I know about how hard we've been working, but when you start to see like the effort from the past return, it's encouraging to keep working. Like this, what I'm getting now is from the last 3 years of busting my butt. And I'm so excited about what's in the future because of how hard I've been working and how much we believe now. Like I just know we're about to do even cooler stuff than you've seen. We still animate, and I've linked up with an animator, Izu Ijoku. He is, and he convinced me a little bit more about 3D. And, you know, I still partner with Motion Studios, who originally animated our original content. So everybody's still here, and we're just building on it. So some things have been a little quieter, and you may not get your Tales of the Stars right away in the beginning of the year because I got some other stuff from CNS Comics that it's time for folks to get. I need people to get dark fantasy because I want dark fantasy. I read it. I'm a nerd too. So I want these other books to come out from the other creators that have been down to throw in their lot with me. Like they're like, hey, CNS Comics, you're doing CNS Comics. Can I do CNS Comics too? And I was like, well, I mean, do you work hard and want to grind with me? Because I'm down to build. And you start to run into people that are down to build. And it's encouraging. We've been in a good place. So.
That's what's up. And there's a reason the name of your company is CNS Comics. It also stands for Crump and Son. So basically you talking about the family aspect of your company is attributed to the title of your company as a whole.
We are the Sons of Crump. My brothers and I said that we were going to work together to try to do something where we worked for ourselves. And that's a legacy that's different than a legacy working for someone else. When you can leave a vehicle by which people might empower their own dreams, as opposed to someone else's, you know, to earn your bread. Like we live, we work, you got to work to eat. So, but if you can work on the things that matter to you to eat, I think that's a legacy more powerful than these really high paying jobs that take all your time. I like farming. Like when you really think about growing your own food, people think that's too much work. I'm like, well, I mean, you know, it's some physical, but physical is good for you. Yeah. You should get some physical, but you really only work hard when you got to bust the ground, plant, and then you chill and maintain.
The rest of it's patience.
Harvest. I mean, the harvest is festival time. You go get you some food after that and a little bit more work. So it's not, I think that's what COVID did for a lot of people, was make them think about how you want to work, not that you don't want to work, but how you want to do that. Because that's a part of your life, and you spend a lot of time working. How do you want to spend that time on your dream or, you know, something else? So you just gotta sometimes take that leap. And like I said, that support of a family that's willing to work with you, that I understand is something that everybody doesn't have, which is why once I realized that people were getting behind this thing, I was like, well, there's other people that want to do this too, and I'm going to be a gate buster. for other folks. So as soon as I could get a sledgehammer to knock something down for somebody else, we went to doing that too. And
Absolutely.
I'm more excited about that almost than issue 4, which we're halfway through, which is going to be a 32-page issue. So it's our version of the key issue for the Tales of the Stars. It's going to really change the landscape for the TOS verse.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a lot of different options for those who don't want to fly in outer space with dragons. We've got dark fantasy coming from Spedi Sousa out of Brazil, and I love what the team is doing with that, like the way the colors and Spedi's lines go together. Andy Coons, my boy from college, is doing the colors on that, and it's like a Sin City type of color scheme, but all its own. Like Andy makes things feel like metal when he colors them, and the brush stroke, that's what I call it from Spedi, because he's actually hand drawn and scanning in the baseline.
Gotcha.
The baseline art is hand drawn, and it's got a feel to it that you'll feel it when you're turning. You'll feel like you're in this misty, dark universe, which is his IP's universe, and he's got a 5-book set that we're going to roll out from Dark Fantasy. If you're on the mailing list, if you were on the mailing list by Halloween, midnight on Halloween, you got issue 1 of Dark Fantasy with the exclusive Hex cover, the Halloween exclusive cover,
which I did.
Yes.
But to retract, for a lot of people who have not had the opportunity to get to know you or know your brand, you've had Tales of the Stars, Tol'Asha Trial of the Hoarder, Tol'Asha and the Spaceway Pirates. Now, for anybody who hasn't had the chance, like I said, who hasn't had a chance to basically get involved with some of the stories that you've been able to bring out, what is Tales of the Stars? What is the TOS verse, and who is Tol'Asha?
So it all starts with the call of the voice that speaks it. So you're in the world of existence with a capital E. So that's where TOS verse takes place. And it's a realm of essentially infinite life, infinite possibility. Tol'Asha at her core is an explorer, both externally and internally. So you're on an exploration mission. She's a warrior, but she's exploring. Like you'll see in each issue, like Tales of the Stars, you see multiple worlds in issue 1, Tol'Asha of the Stars. In issue 2, The Trial of the Hoarder, you're seeing new worlds. She's expanding her understanding of the universe around her, and at the same time expanding her understanding of herself and what she's driven by and what she's meant to do. But what she is, less fourth dimension, fourth wall, and more inside of the universe itself, is a being from an immortal race called the Immortals. They are infinitely variant in type. They don't look the same. Generally, they look like all types. The Hoarder is a worm Jedi type dude. He's like a mean Obi-Wan, and like a really mean Obi-Wan.
He is.
And then you got, he's like mean, man. Then you got the blacksmith. He's a big bovine type giant, but the friendly giant. He's cool. He's a craftsman. So most of the Immortals were like artisan beings, but Tol came out kind of fiery and different than any other Immortal that's ever been called. She was immediately intercepted by the Stars, who wrapped her up in their power and offered their power in exchange for her to take on the challenge of slaying the cosmic dragons. And she had the temperament for it and went right to it. So she was like, yeah, let's do this. And from there, you're on an adventure where ultimately she's on a quest to defeat the cosmic dragons once and for all, and bring balance to existence with a capital E. So that's the Tales of the Stars main series. But within that universe, you have all the mortal races and their trauma and their experiences, and how she interacts with them and they interact with her, is also a way that the universe expands. So it's a really big place. I always say it's everything you want, but nothing you expect.
Right. And the thing is, like, this kind of like took off because I remember the first issue, we were all just starting to get to know you. And it was like the animation came out. It was like, okay, I'm really me myself. I'm really into cosmic shit. So initially, it was like, yeah, I'm already on board, and I saw everything that basically like came with the package of getting to know Tol'Asha and realizing that it was sort of like she's a wanderer, just exploring the galaxy, uh, in cooperation of ultimately setting herself up for a final destination, like a very big climax that's kind of formulating throughout these books. And through it all, I've come to find out that there's other characters, whether it been the hoarder or the blacksmith, but I've always asked of a lot of indie creators if there is intersectionality, if there was any type of other characters that could carry on their own story within the story itself. And yet, when you came out with a very short Kickstarter, intersectionality wise, boom, this happens. So got your first 3 issues of the TOS verse, and within that, you get issue 1 of the captains. And I gotta say, the artwork, the progression from issue 1 to issue 3, and even this, bro, who is the artist on this?
That's JP Torres, man. Like he is doing phenomenal. He's a student. And when you look at that, he is rich in Kirby, rich in all the things that made comic books that I loved what I loved. Like you're a cosmic man like I am. I take the title the Cosmic King. Yo, there's so much depth within. It's like paintings. Every panel is like a painting. It's some really good looking stuff. I'm super excited about where these arcs can go. JP's on board. He said he loves it too. So when the artist likes it, you can see it in the work also. Sash is he just gets better and better when you see issue 4, what he's doing with this one, because issue 4 is a fight book. So you've gotten
yeah,
you've gotten all your power skill and you've gotten your understanding of the universe.
There's a lot of dialogue in issue 3. There's tons of dialogue. There's so many panels on each page.
Oh my goodness.
To where there's just conversations on conversation. There might be 8 panels per page on a lot of this.
Right. You got to get the rest of the lore. But the lore is over. It's time to square up. So in issue 4, you will see Tol'Asha take on her first fight, a big fight, Ballberg. So there's more in there than that. Like I said, this one is a 32-page issue, and it's going to close out volume 1. It ends at a point that I think people are going to enjoy. It's the best book yet, like it's meant to be, because it's meant to end all the lore. So you're done hearing about why Tol and how Tol. Now you're about to see Tol. And from here on out, the pace quickens. So if you were reading a novel, you're out of the prologue and you're out of the field and into the forest, and it's starting to get thick very quickly. Like it will continue to escalate until you get to the end. Like you're going to feel like, oh my God, I'm on a train wreck. Right. All the way to the end of this thing. And like you said, it's coming to a really big head. Like all that lore comes to a really big head, and you'll understand why she is called the Immortal Queen Tol'Asha by the end of this arc. So essentially, this big giant arc is Tol'Asha's backstory. And within Tol'Asha's backstory, you're going to get the close of our first age. So the Captains is a prequel to Tol. Tol has not emerged yet. The advent of Tol'Asha is what it ends up being called. There's a lot of things Tol does in our universe and the timeline that get named because they become very important. Right. So she's going to move from your central figure to your very powerful interventionist type figure within the universe. And the stories are going to then focus more on the other beings that exist. So the first age is the age of, if you were talking about when the new gods murked everybody out type of age, like gotcha, that type of deal. You're going to come into the second age where it's kind of a mingling of the powerful beings and a winding down into and the super powerful mortals, because there are mortals that rival the immortals in power. Like just because they're immortals doesn't mean that they command the power of the infinite mightier than all the races that exist. There are beings out there that die, but are more powerful than an immortal in combat, because immortals are not geared necessarily toward combat. There's two you'll see, Tol and Khan the Thurgarian. I can't see, if you get me going, I can't wait to get all the lore out on somebody. But
hey,
like
I'm
when
with
you
it.
see it, there's some epic battles coming for you though.
My next big question was throughout these first 3 books, when you chose to create somewhat of a path away from Tol'Asha to start up a whole new story, why the captains? Why a team of mortals? Why them?
Oh man, the Spaceway Pirates are very important to me. I speak almost directly to the reader through the Spaceway Pirates. They have a lot to do with how I view the world around me. So they're my most important mortal race. Honestly, they're the first mortal race that is truly impactful. I know that within the same book, you get another mortal race as well, because the world is full of mortals. Yeah. But the pirates were, when I made Bala, I fell in love with Bala the same way I fell in love with Tol. And Bala will be running the war books. Like she'll show up in the captains once you get far enough in the timeline, because the captains will span the entirety of my universe, because the Spaceway Pirates are original. There's elder races, mortals that predate immortals within existence, because the immortals they're not natural to existence, which you witness with the advent of Tol.
Now, see, that's rare, because it's usually the other way around in a lot of books. It's usually the immortals that are pretty much the end all, the be all. They've been here before existence. They've started up the universe. They kickstarted everything. And then the mortals follow because they were of the immortals' creation. It's almost like the human concept.
See, and I always take the approach of I'm an archetype breaker.
Okay.
Because you'll identify with it, but it will jar you. It's a little topsy-turvy to take. And I love it when somebody's really reading my stuff, man, because I'm a writer. Like, I'm trying to do stuff to you, and it tells me that it's working, right? Yes. But yeah, like you'll see a lot of that where kind of things get a little bit flip-flopped, where what you would normally think you're not allowed to think in my universe this time, because you need a different perspective every now and then. I think that's one of the big themes, about why I wanted to create comics and why I wanted to storytell to begin with, is because I want to help us all think about things from as many angles as we can, because the world is crazy and things are weird.
It's true.
It's hard to understand everything, but the more you understand, the nicer you become. I don't know how else to say it. There's a dude, can't remember who it was, but he said, young people take a hard line on justice because they haven't done enough sinning. Like, the longer you live, the older you get, either you become really, really hard or strong enough to forgive. And I think that it's important to me to come from a place of love and not fear, which is why Tol'Asha's immortal power was to be fearless. So that's another way that I embedded. But the pirates, they're an elder race, along with some of the races that you'll see deeper in the story. And then when you get the other spinoffs, because the captains is not the only spinoff, you'll get the saga, the Maid and the Born. Like, there are other stories. When you get the Maid and the Born, that's going to be some really dope stuff. If you go back into the First Age, so that's going forward in time. But if I went back into the First Age, it all starts with the children of the infinite. And it's a really deep story that leads you to how immortals actually came to be in the place that they're from, and why they exist, and how everything is really formed. The immortals wouldn't be considered gods. They are a race born of the infinite. The gods would be the children. And the game of the children is what you're seeing play out over and over and over again. The game of the children never ends, and it just keeps changing forms. But that's essentially, that's that real deep lore. Like, you got to be Silmarillion nerdy to want to get in on that. But yeah, it's like there's a whole thing that happened prior,
right?
And why the stars are so powerful. Like, where these things come from, I know. One day I'll tell you guys too. When you're deep enough hooked into where you're like, well, damn, where them immortals come from? And I'll be like, let me tell you the story of the children of the infinite. And kind of the infinite is like every different being, because it's a perspective game, right? Like, all the different mortals call the same thing different stuff, and tell the same stories different ways,
right?
Because they were there, they saw it differently. So
yeah,
the infinite it's running through all things, but everybody talks about it differently, and interacts with it differently and has a different relationship to it. But it is the driving force in our world. Would be like George Lucas called it the force. We consider the power that is magic or whatever. That's the infinite. And your ability to draw from the well of the infinite is where you get your magical powers, and the stars are the real estate that.
And that's usually like the power of storytelling. People often say about like, let's just say for what it is. People often say about like stories from the Bible. There's a lot of people that read the Bible who take it in a literal sense. There's some people that take it in a more of a spiritual sense. And then there's some people who like figuratively like look at it as like, those are the ways that I should carry out my path. Everybody's going to look at it through their own perspective. And that's where you get sections of people who think a certain way. You often see that as well through any type of story. There's somebody who might absolutely love the nostalgia piece of Huckleberry Finn. There might be other people that might think that that is the most racist book ever imaginable. You know, it depends on the perspective of who the reader is. You know, so like books like yours, you can take it any certain way. Some people might look at it and be like, wow, you know, the cosmic element of it and the way that I see Tol'Asha carrying on this story is kind of like a spaghetti Western. Someone who aimlessly alone travels through space and time in order to have fulfillment in herself. Then you have some others that may look at it and be like, you know, Tol'Asha has this deep understanding of who she is, how powerful a person that she is, and that's what makes me like her. So you could take it both ways. You know, you'll find you find this like a sense of understanding. Everybody's
that silver surfer vibe that she's lonely.
Yeah.
It's that surfer vibe.
It's my favorite character, by the way. That's one of my favorite characters of all time. Absolutely.
Warlock and Surfer are my top two favorite comic book characters, because the Warlock is tormented in a way that I think was skillfully done in a very weird way that makes you have to read it repeatedly. But he is a tormented OG Warlock. Like when you pick up his original run, before you get into all the Infinity Watch and all that cool stuff later on, where they, kind of pull Warlock back. OG Warlock, whose best friends were Gamora, Pib the Troll, and Thanos.
Yeah.
His closest homie was Thanos, and Thanos even felt guilty about having to do him dirty the multiple times he did him dirty, because Thanos too, they had a real bond that Thanos is just, Thanos will kill you anyways, but it's just how he rolls. Right. But it was an interesting grouping of characters, and it put Warlock in weird moral situations. And he's originally presented like the perfect being, and then he's just completely morally compromised forevermore. Like, I love it. He's like, it's an interesting way to do things. It's an archetype breaker. They did the Jesus, but like, a weird Jesus.
It was. I give you that aspect. It was
almost like not the devil, but reverse Jesus. I don't want to say reverse Jesus and make people think the devil, but like,
no.
Yeah, anyways, it's a weird story. Like the
He
more
didn't
I
die
read it,
for
the
our
more
sins. He lived
layers
for
it
our sins.
had.
So much so that he encompassed himself in the very vessel that could carry on life.
He kills himself multiple times.
Kills himself.
Like when he realizes he's the villain, like
Right.
you're the villain. It's my favorite thing about people
Mhm.
because our superpower is our greatest weakness.
Yes.
And it's always true. And it's just Warlock represents it in a way that I really like, especially the whole Mega saga. And I'll be interested to see what actually happens with the Warlock. I know it's not going to be that story because
No.
that one is just too weird. But I love the MCU for its original storytelling. I
Yeah.
rebelled originally, but then I realized something. It's not the comic books. And if it was
Mhm.
the comic books, wouldn't I be bored? I
It
read
took me a
those.
while to get that way too, especially
Hard.
with how James Gunn is doing like the cosmic side of Marvel, which I love. I love the cosmic side
They're
of
cool
Marvel.
movies, but that is not what was on it. I'm not that
Yeah.
guy. I'm not going to
And,
be the
yeah.
it's not in the
But like
comics guy.
I realized I had to come to understanding long time ago that the movies are only 2 hours long. I am only going to get a little bit of the source material that I'm going to get, as well as the screenplay in which they're hoping to adapt from
Right.
and make it entertaining for the audience. And that's totally fine with me now. Back then, I would I would argue it all day. It was
Grit
like,
your
not doing
teeth.
exactly
It's
what
not right.
right. You know what I'm saying? But to continue on, um, now that you've had the ability to uh do virtual cons, that you've actually had to put this comic in front of people who have never heard of you, go to live cons to where people have never heard of you. What has the reception been like?
People have been good to us.
Yes.
We are inching up on 1,000 total comics sold, both print and digital. So
I love that.
yeah, to me it's crazy. Like I always think to myself, like, and it started happening now, so I know how I feel. Like originally, you remember I was like, if 10 people came up to me and asked me about my comic all at once, I would fall over. I do actually almost fall over.
Yes.
I absolutely nerd out when people show up, but they show up, they see it. Um, and you know how Comic-Con goes. I know that we're gonna have a good day when early on a lot of people are just like stuck like glue looking at your booth. They didn't come here for me, and I know you didn't, but you're looking at me so hard and you're about to like go get the thing you meant to get, and then
Yeah.
because I'm a nerd, I came in there looking for something, that's how
Yeah.
Comic-Cons work. And then I want to see what's out there, but I also like my little monies is meant for something. So when uh, I catch you looking, I catcall you. I see you looking. It's so much fun. Here, open the book. I got a test copy. The reception has been better than I thought it would be. Honestly, Fayetteville was so much fun. We did a really good job in Fayetteville. We're in Greensboro next weekend, Greensboro, North Carolina,
Nice.
at the Triad Comic Con. It's at a hotel. I think I've got something on the website for you guys, cnscomics.com / what's new with the hyphen, that I think it's in some hotel, but it's only one day. I'm really excited about that one though. We've got the captains now available.
Yeah.
It will be available in our shop for those of you who ain't on it like James was on it. Um, Friday, November 5th, when we launch our CNS Comics Tonight show. So we'll be launching our live show and rolling out issue one of the captains.
Well, see, I can't help it. I'm on the mailing list, so I'm gonna get that email regardless. You know. So, but like more so, this whole surgence that you've been putting yourself through for the past like 3 years, it's allowed you to then take on correspondence with fellow writers, future aspiring writers, and artists who want to get seen just like you did 3 years ago, and essentially want to put that work in. So I've seen through the mailing list that you've expanded your teams in a way.
Yes, yes. We now are more than just me. Spetty Sousa has come on with us and brought his IP Universe Dark, and Kimney Pierre, my main man Kim, has come on and brought his universe, the Realm of Amanya. Bruh,
Okay.
There is a demon devouring demon. Look, wait till you hit Akane and them. She's like from a clan that they are cursed
Mm-hmm.
and they take the power of a demon to defeat demons.
Mm,
Um,
so a horror.
and
Is it a
oh,
horror now?
it's I would say it's like a supernatural thriller.
Okay, got you.
It's got horror elements. There are gonna be moments where you're like, oh my goodness, the darkness. Like it's because it's
Mm,
the darkness that devours the darkness. It's some good stuff. Like I'm really, and that's how we ended up linking up. Like they need help pushing it.
hmm.
They create their work. You know, there's a lot of artists with really good IPs. I'm a solid writer myself, so I can throw in some with you and kind of
Yeah.
work some really good editing into IPs that are already very strong. And that's what you're going to be seeing here. Same thing with Spetty. Spetty makes all of the art and he's the storyteller. And I've got a pre-built platform. So we're teaming up to take what I've built so that you don't got to start there and we'll start together. And you're the big piece, I'm the small piece publisher,
Yeah.
not I eat you and devour you completely. No, I'm looking for people to that want to build. And if you want to build, I want to help you build too, especially if we're building on to the same thing. So it's kind of a collaborative process where we're producing some really cool books. You've seen Dark Fantasy.
Yes.
We are going to release that issue 1 to everyone else, but not the hex cover digitally in December. And
Okay.
then coming into January, it'll be Spetty's time. Look for us to come to Kickstarter for issues 2 through 3, or maybe 2 through 5, depending on how strong the response is to issue 1, because it's a 5-book series.
Wait, all at once?
Yeah, we might roll out heavy. We're at least going to roll out 2 and 3.
Man.
But we are going to be launching full blown other IPs. Now, we're always going to do the Tales of the Stars as well. Like I said, we're working on some really neat animation stuff that it's been hard for me not to like spoil, but I'm getting so much better at
It's quite all right.
being a proper business side. But
Good.
sometimes I just want to like, hey, look at the cool stuff we've been making. But I'll get to do it soon.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I think I've understood through major publishers where they understand that the writers and the artists are so like hyped about their work that they do want people to see it. Like I get that, and like you'll find like that major publisher is like you have to wait like until Thursday of next week.
right.
It's like don't do anything until Thursday of next week.
Stop posting stuff. Take that down. You weren't
They're like,
supposed to
take that
post
down.
that.
You're
That's
gonna mess
so
it up. We want
cool.
the reveal to be really cool, and see that's the part I think of like the bigger publishers is that I guess they understand writers, they understand the artists, that like they just like sitting there, they're trembling, they want to put it out so bad, and yet they're holding you back and like hold on because like we want to be able to build up hype for the release date. Don't do it until this date. So once you do it, we're going to do it. And then like a couple other people are going to do it.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, it is.
All roll together.
I'm starting to realize marketing and advertisement for the glamour roles that they pursue and what they do, especially in comics. Because they might give you, like, I remember when you in your Kickstarter pack, when before you release the captains, you put that first page up of the artwork of the ship that was like laying in the sand on the barren planet. And I was like, that artwork looks so fucking fire. I'm like, what is that? And me reading the Spaceway Pirates, when of course I was in anticipation when it started to get dropped, and I was like, okay, this is the artwork in this, the progression that I've seen from your first works to this is like shit. Like, and I'm not saying it's shit. I'm saying shit like as the expression. Like, man, I like, for one, Sash has been doing incredible work here. Mr. Torres, JP Torres has been doing for this first book.
Man.
Where did you find him again? I'm sorry.
JP is out of Brazil. We linked up on IG. He hit me up and said, hey man, I do artwork and I'm interested in drawing because he loves Kirby.
Yeah.
So like he's looking at like everybody who loves it is if you love Kirby and the Silver
Yeah.
Surfer and all that old school stuff like
Well,
that, you'll look right at it and know what you're
right.
looking at, man.
Because what is it in the recent issues of the X-Men, House of X, Powers of X, Pepe Larraz, who's a Brazilian artist, like did like absolutely fantastic work. I think people are starting to see the Brazilian artists for who they are, and them
Yeah, they are
motherfuckers,
fire out
they're
there, man.
amazing.
Like when you start looking back, you realize a lot of the artwork that's been here recent in the
Yeah.
2000s. This has been Brazilian artists for a long time, and I'm hoping to just like with Spetty, I want to give everybody a chance to if I like what you're doing, like I'm not gonna act like oh anybody, you know, I still have to like it. I gotta believe it. I gotta love it. I'm not putting out anything that I don't think counts as storytelling that a storyteller would love. That's who we are as a brand. We want to write stories for storytellers. I want to be your favorite rapper. I want to be your favorite writer's writer.
Yep.
Because I want a story that gives you all those layers. Like, and I think JP's artwork really pairs really, really well.
It's true. Like those,
like that last page.
Yeah. Even in some of the scenes in the beginning of the book where you're seeing them walk through an unlit room, it's hard to do shadows, and he's doing shadows tremendously well.
Yeah, the artwork in this one just it hurts you, man. It hurts you. And it keeps building. This is a good little this run is set up to be 4 books. I generally operate, you know, like if you know me in 4-book runs. The Tales of the Stars, we're going to keep rocking 16-page books to a 32-page key and close out a volume because it's an epic story. So you can expect that pattern to repeat. And we'll change artists between volumes sometimes and different things and pick up different projects with Sash. So we've got like a really like well-forming team of artists and creators. And I think we can do a lot of, because I got some other stories for you too, like some one-offs I want to tell, like some Road One style stuff. And then I got, I'm sleeping on it, but I sent it to you. Free Soul Unbound. Eventually folks will experience Free Soul and that is going to be a different type of work than you've seen me put out even just it's a different type of work.
I'll be looking forward for people to see that because that is
Free Soul.
Not to say that it's totally unexpected of you. It's totally within your realm. So I was like, yep, I can see this from Wilson.
For sure.
For anybody that has that wants to get in touch with you and hasn't had the opportunity and wants to basically see your work, how can they get a hold of CNS Comics?
Google. You could Google it. You could hit us up on Facebook. Everywhere that you can type in CNS Comics, you're going to find us.
I can't type it in on Twitter.
All right, you got me. I don't know. Maybe you can. Have you ever tried it?
I have.
Have you ever tried it? Oh, all right. So look, I'm not good at social media. I've been called out for not being on Twitter. I've been called out several times because you got to diversify your platforms.
Right.
Back you were calling out the marketing and how important a part of your grind that is.
Yes.
So I'm always learning. I'm always learning about different platforms. The website I build, so you can hit us at cnscomics.com. That's me too, building that clicky. So check us out, man. Anywhere you type in CNS Comics, you should find us, except for Twitter. And Pinterest. I might have Pinterest. I built these things at some time and I didn't use them. Like when you first start doing stuff, you open up accounts for everything while you're trying to figure out what to do. So I think I might be on Pinterest. I'll have to ask.
Wow.
I tried it all.
Well, brother, I appreciate you doing this with me. For somebody who has been a fan of yours since you started in 2018, I only want to see you succeed because I feel like the stories that you've been able to put on from your mind to a page has been extremely dope. The fact that I got 4 issues of yours is only succeeded by the fact that I know that there's more to come. Oh, yes. So you've been able to expand your brand. You've been going to live cons. hopefully you get to step outside of North Carolina, because I feel like more people need to see your work.
Soon.
Good.
I'll start with the East Coast, so I'll be your way before long. Don't worry, I'm coming your way too. So.
I'm only in New Jersey. I'm 4 states away, so like this.
It's going down. We're coming everywhere, man. It's been a blessing, and it's likewise. It's been amazing to watch the growth of Grandmaster Facts and the emergence of the Facts Project. And everything you do and everything you represent is appreciated on this side. So thank you for being down, man. I've been glad to know you and to get to see everything that's been happen, man.
My man, I appreciate you. So for everybody here at the Facts Project, my man Wilson Lee, we are out.